Hi 104, I'm excited to share what you'll be working on during week 2. So week 2 is comprised of pages 1 through 17 in your keyboard fundamental book. So let's work through that together. So starting right with that first page of chapter 1, it's exploring the keyboard. So when you're sitting at a keyboard, whether it's in the lab or you happen to have a keyboard in your residence or you're in the dorm in the basement, your keyboards are all going to basically look the same. Notice that you've got groups of white and black keys. We're going to use that to help us find our letter names. But before we even get that far, let's talk about the sounds. So when you're sitting at your piano, the sounds that are to your left are going to be the lowest sounds. The higher the pitch as you go to the right. So on my extreme right end, there would be my highest pitches. So on this first page, they're asking you just to get used to hearing how your pitch is going from low to high on the various sides. Then they want you to take a look at how these black keys are grouped within your white keys, because that's going to be so important for you to be able to move quickly and fluidly between hand positions when you're trying to find letter names. And so if you look at these black keys, we've got one lonely one here, but otherwise they're alternating in groups of 2 and 3. So to try to get our eyes familiar or seeing these patterns of 2 and 3, there's a couple exercises here for you to do on the bottom of that first page. So they ask you to find a group of 2 black keys in the middle of your keyboard. They ask you to use your right hand, and then notice they're also giving you finger numbers. So let's talk about finger numbers for a minute. In piano, with fingers, your thumbs are number 1, and then the numbers go out contrary from there. Fingers 2, 3, 4, and 5. So those of you that may have played an instrument, whether it's a woodwind, brass, or string instrument, might be used to this being T and then 1. So that's a little bit hard to get used to. The other thing that you want to remember is that those finger numbers are going in a contrary fashion. They're not parallel. They're contrary. Thumbs being that most important digit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So back to my example here, if I'm asked to play this piece on a group of 2 black keys with fingers 2 and 3 in my right hand, here's 2, here's 3. They're asking me to choose in the middle of my keyboard, and then they're asking me to move to the right. So my sound is getting higher. So again, I'm hoping that my eyes are spotting where those 2 black keys are. They then ask you to do that in a descending pattern. When you turn the page, there's that chart with those finger numbers to help you. And then there's also a paragraph or 2 talking about how to sit at the piano. You want to be centered in front of where usually the brand name is of the piano. We're also going to find that that's where middle C is. When you put your hands on the keyboard, notice how your elbows are right in front of your body. That's really important that you're not too close with those elbows along the side or sticking in the back. Those elbows are in front. Most of us have a tendency to sit too close. Your hand position should be slightly cupped so that the keys are being pressed with the pad of your finger. So continuing on to page 3, they ask you to do those same exercises going high and low, but this time using groups of 3. Now let's put some rhythm into it. So in the middle of page 3, there's a rhythm chart. This might be review to you if you were in band, choir, orchestra growing up, or perhaps even if you can remember back to elementary music class. The basic note values we're going to be starting with is a quarter note, which is that filled in with a stem worth 1 beat. A half note is hollow with a stem, 2 beats. A dot on the side of a half note is worth 3 beats. This dot, we'll find this frequently next to a type of note. When a dot is added next to a note, it adds half of its original note value. So without the dot, that would be my half note worth 2. The dot is adding half of that, or in other words, 1 other beat, for a total of 3. Take away the stem, you've got a whole note worth 4 counts. So now you've got some rhythm drills to practice here on the bottom of page 3. The first thing I want you to do is to either clap or tap with your hand the rhythm. And for a beginning rhythm, let's take a look at that first example together. I would just count how much it's worth. So number 1 would go 1, 1, 1, 2. 1, 1, 1, 2. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes people find counting numbers, they aren't even. We tend to go faster and slower, and we don't hear it as easy as if we were using words. So a lot of times I'll encourage you to practice counting, saying the type of note. It works just as well. Quarter, quarter, half, note. Quarter, quarter, half, note. Quarter, 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 whole note, hold it. Or make up your own words for that, but saying 2 words for 2 beats, 4 words for 4 beats. So you've got a right hand exercise. You could practice clapping. You could practice taking any note and doing that rhythm. You could practice just tapping it on the top of your keyboard. Then you've got a left hand example. And the last one is for getting your hands to work together. When you turn the page, when you're ready, we're going to take these rhythms, we're going to take these finger numbers, and we're going to put them onto a staff. So a staff is comprised of 5 lines and those 4 spaces that are in between. Our book here for the first few pages is using just 2 lines to be able to see the movement. So just kind of a mini staff here. With our staff, we also need some sort of punctuation, if you will, to help us with our rhythm. So you're going to find at the beginning of a staff 2 numbers, and this is your time signature. Your time signature tells you 2 things. The example the time signature shows you on page 4 happens to be 4-4. That top number of your key signature is telling you 4 beats in a measure. The bottom number is telling you that a quarter note is worth 1 beat. That's eventually going to change, but for right now, that 4 is always going to be your quarter note. We can draw our notes so that they are a line note, meaning that there's a line going right through the middle of them, or we can draw them as a space note, which means that there's space going right through the middle of them. How these notes move is going to tell us if we're going to the right or higher on our instrument or going to the left. So if I have my notes sitting on, let's say, the 2nd space, and we name our spaces and lines from bottom to top, just like if you're in an apartment building. Or if I was talking about this note I just drew, that would be what I would refer to as the 2nd space. So if I have a space note, and then it's going to a line note, I'm moving up on the staff. So that means that I'm going to travel to the right or go higher. So if I was told to use a finger number 2 on this first note, stepping up to the right would take me to a finger 3. So when you're moving from a space to a line, that's an adjacent movement, and we call it a step. We might find sometimes that we move in a skip. Let's go back to this note, this half note that I wrote. That's up on the 4th space. But what if that next note following it was here on that 3rd space? I would be skipping because I'm skipping over this line. So if I'm going from a space to a space, or if I was going from a line to a line, that would be a skip. Now in particular, this skip is going down on my staff. So I would be moving to the left, or for the note sound to go lower. What if I was using my left hand here, and this first one was a 2, and I can see I'm going to skip? What finger would I use on that next note? I'd use a 4. So when you take this into your pieces on page 5, you'll notice that you've got a time signature. You'll notice also that we've got what are called bar lines. Those bar lines separate those notes into measures that have 4 beats, or what that top of your time signature is telling you. Notice I'm not saying 4 notes, it's 4 beats. 1 plus 1 plus 2 equals 4, so there's a bar line. So here comes our first pieces for you to be able to play. And here are the steps I'd like you to go through with them. So let's work through Black Key Tune for the right hand. The first thing I want you to do is just to look through and see what your movement is. So I start with my thumb, same, step up, so that'd be a 2. same, same. Step down would take me to a 1. Here they're just showing you that you're going up on your hand by placing it up. Finger 5, notice now I have a skip. That would take me to finger 3, up to 4, same, step down. Go back then and do that again and see if you can hold it for the appropriate rhythm. Quarter, quarter, step up, half, note. Quarter, quarter, step down, hold. 5, skip, up, same, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's easiest to work on seeing the skips and steps, feeling the finger numbers, and figuring out the pulse or the rhythm or how that feels to you before you put your hands on the keyboard. Then you're ready to find your position. These opening songs are all going to be on black keys. So they're asking you to take your right hand, finger 1, on that lower of 2 black keys, and then I'm going to put 1 finger on every black key. So here would be my position. Then I'm ready to put in that pattern that we just talked through. Once you've finished that piece, now you've got one for the left hand. I would follow the same ideas. You can clap the rhythm. You can go through and finger it, saying if you're stepping or skipping, going higher or lower. You can finger it, feeling the rhythm. When you're ready to find the hand position, left hand, finger 4, that's my ring finger, on the higher of a group of 2, and then 1 finger on every black key. So there would be my position. When you turn to page 6, you get a piece where you have both hands together. Now there's lots of detail in this piece, and this is one that we will spend time working on together when I see you with your appropriate assigned class this next week. Notice that you've got a time signature of 3-4. These 2 dots are new. Notice here's the other set. That is telling you to repeat or to play the piece first. You're going to follow the same strategy. Notice that because both hands are playing, reading from the right to the left, my right hand plays, and then the left, and then the right, and then the left, and then the right, and I repeat. I would first go through with my 2 hands, and I would clap the rhythm. Half, note, quarter, half, note, quarter, 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 quarter. Or if you want to do 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. You'll find what works best for you. Once you've done that, practice seeing if it's stepping or skipping. 4, down, down. 3, up, down. Use your rhythm. When you're ready to put it on the keys, and remember that should always be your last step, here's your diagram of placement. Left hand on a group of 2. Right hand on that adjacent group of 3. We'll have a lot of fun with that one in class. That is the first group of things that I would practice. I would stop the video at this point, and that should take you a day or 2 to master those concepts. When you're ready, come back to the video, and we're going to move on to page 7, which is putting our pieces onto the white keys. So now go back to that keyboard and remember how we talked about seeing those groups of 2s and 3s. Here's where that's going to come in handy. We're going to memorize where the names of those white keys are based on our groups of 2 and 3. Our musical alphabet, it consists of the first 7 letters of the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Just like the first letter of the alphabet, your very lowest white key is A. B, C, D, E, F, G, and then it simply repeats. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, all the way 7.5 times to end up here on a C. So if I know my piece is starting on an F, I certainly don't want to have to go to the bottom, count my way up. I don't even want to be one of those people that has to always find middle C, D, E, F, and count my way up. Instead, use page 7 to help you memorize where these notes are. So once you get used to that, a good way to quiz yourself is to think, okay, I'm thinking of a group of 2. The note in the middle is D. I'm going to find all the Ds as fast as I can from bottom or low sound to high. Okay, I'm thinking of a group of 3. The white key at the left end or the low end, you could think of it either way, is F. find your highest F. Find all the F's descending. So that's a nice game that you can play with yourself. We'll use that as a warm-up in class, but with the task of being able to memorize. Be able to not look at the book and say to yourself, okay, group of 2, C, D, E, group of 3, F, G, A, B. Because in the middle of a song, you don't have time to count to figure out where that letter name is. Once you're comfortable, we need to put those on the staff. So looking at page 8, here's the basics of a staff. This might be reviewed for you. This might be new for you. Middle C is our dividing point. If my notes that they're asking me to play are higher than middle C is that white key in front of a group of 2, so low end or left end. It is usually the C that is right down from the manufacturer's name on an acoustic piano. On an electric piano, it might look a little bit different. On a keyboard, it might look a little bit different too. If you have questions, I can help you with that individually. If your notes are middle C and higher, you are going to see a treble clef that looks like this. Middle C is this note. It's right here. It's a special note with an added line. If your notes to play are middle C and lower, you're going to see this, which is a bass clef. And notice that it's B-A-S-S, like bass string bass or bass in a choir, not bass like baseball. So this is telling you middle C and lower. Your middle C on this clef is right here because it's at the high end. Now, to find any note off of those middle C's, there's a couple guideposts that we can use to help you. This line right here, the second line, is easy to find because it's where that curly Q of treble clef is. And that letter name is a G. So that's a really easy one to find. In bass clef, it's easy to find that line between the 2 dots, which is F. So visual notes to memorize: middle C, second line G of treble clef, and fourth line F of bass clef. So on your keyboard, here's middle C, here would be treble G, here would be bass F. From these notes, you're simply going to go forwards in your alphabet if you were climbing up the staff, backwards in your alphabet if you were descending. Sometimes people need to practice going A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, because you need to be able to count backwards in your alphabet that quickly. So if my note in my piece is here, the easiest way to find it is find that nearest note that's easy to find, F, C, or G. In this case, G. And then count up your alphabet, every space, every line getting a letter. So if this line is G, that means my space is A. That means this line note is a B. So I would know it's my B that's above middle C. There would be my note that I need to play. Same thing happens descending. Let's go to bass clef. What if I needed to play this note down here? All right, now I'm going lower, so I have to go backwards in my alphabet. So if F is my line, E is my space, D is a line, C is a space, this is a B. So it's a B, here's my F, below that, so this is my note I would need. Note naming is probably the most tedious thing. It takes repetition, repetition, repetition. One of the best things you can do is open the book anywhere and just read. You're going to want to take your pencil. You're going to want to write every letter name above every note. You're going to want to write every finger number above every note. Please, please, please don't. It becomes a crutch, and pretty soon you're going to realize that all you are looking at is your pencil mark, and you aren't memorizing the movement of the notes or the placement of the notes. Some of you might remember, probably back from elementary school or band, choir, orchestra, that there were some funny little sayings that helped you remember the names of the notes in treble and bass clef. I know they seem silly, especially at our age as adults, but hey, if they work, use them. So a lot of people have probably memorized for treble clef, every good boy does fine for the lines. And look at how that would have been a quick way to find that note, every good boy. The spaces spell the word face. just like a word search going backwards. You can make up your own sayings too. Every good boy deserves fudge, even George Bush drives fast. Every great burrito doesn't fall apart. There's lots of different names. Elvis's guitar broke down Friday. There's lots of great ones that you can come up with. Bass clef, same thing. You may have learned great big dogs fight animals. For the spaces, all cars eat gas, or all cows eat grass. So there's different ways that you can use to help you there with your counting too. So your big assignment for the week is going to be getting used to watching and playing on staff. So with pages 9, 10, and 11, page 9 is for right hand, page 10 is for left hand, page 11 is for right hand. Here's the practice steps I would do. I'm just going to randomly choose number 3 here. So the first thing I want you to do is to clap the rhythm. 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2. Or remember, you can say the type of note. Yes, it has a repeat. Then I would go back and I would say what the movement is, stepping or skipping, because we're still trying to train our eyes that way too. Finger 2, up, skip down, up, up, skip down, up, same, skip down, skip up, skip down. Then play with your hand on a non-plane surface. I'm just going to put it here. You could put it on your knee. And I'm going to feel that movement. 2, step up, skip down. 2, step up, skip down. 2, same, up, same, skip down, skip up, skip down. Then I'm going to read letter names because we're trying to get that to work for us too. This is my E line, and it's right underneath it, so it's going to be a D because it's not middle C with my special line. It's on a space. D, E, C. D, E, C. D, D, E, E, C, E, C. Once you can do all of that without having to stop and figure things out, then you're ready to put it on the piano. So I have a D that's right above middle C with a finger 2. So D with finger 2, you're then going to put the adjacent fingers on the adjacent white keys. There's your hand position. As you play it, I would one time go through saying the letter names, E, C, D. I would go through quarter, quarter, half, saying the rhythm. Again, try to keep your page free of finger numbers, free of letter names. That's how your reading's going to improve. Follow those same steps with the left hand on page 10, same steps with the right hand, page 11. We're going to skip page 12 for right now. That's a page we're going to do together in class, so don't worry about practicing that one on your own. Over on page 13, 14, and 15, your last 3 pages for the week, notice that now we've got both hands playing at once, similar to what we saw for black key melody for 2 hands. So again, do the same process. Clap through the rhythm. Read through the letter names. Read through if it's stepping or skipping. When I'm finding my hand position now, I'm going to have to line them both up. So finger 4 for the left hand on Great Big Dogs Fight in F. My fingers on every white key. My right hand, middle C with a thumb. My fingers on every white key. So here would be my hand position for number 1 on page 13. You might notice on these pieces on 13, 14, 15, there's a few other details. You see some arches above the notes like this. That's a slur that's telling you to play legato or to connect the notes so they sound seamless. You might also notice that there's some F's and there's some P's. Music, when it was written down in the 1500s, most of that movement was coming out of Italy, so a lot of our terms that we're going to have in piano class are Italian. That F is for the word forte, which means to play loud. The P is for the word piano, just like our instrument, which means to play soft. In class together, we'll talk about different ways to achieve that sound by where we put the weight in our hand. Please remember that on Friday by 5 o'clock, your daily or weekly grade, I should say, is your choice of either moving on or the long haul on page 14. So perhaps you'll figure out which one of those you like better, and that would be an excellent thing for us to work together on when you are in person on your class day. We have a couple places where we're going to have notes stacked on top of each other where we start to have those hands play together. The last 2 pages of this unit I did not copy. We will do some board work with them, so if you don't have your text, don't worry about it. It's more note naming, practicing, and putting them into intervals. So if you do have your book, go ahead and just read through pages 16 and 17. Those of you without a text, it's something that I'll share on the overhead on your assigned day. So that is your week 2 assignment. Pages 1 through 15 playing, 16 and 17 is reading, and I look forward to working with you individually in the coming days. Have fun.